Hello everyone and welcome to Cappuccino with HR. My name is Rudi Bauer, and after 40 years in business, I'm 100% sure that the success of companies is directly related to the passion of the people working for these companies. With the Cappuccino of HR, we created a format where we really invite people, it's HR leaders, it's recruiters, it's talent acquisition guys, and we're talking about all the different kind of topics, and the range is going from AI, of course, to new work, to leadership, and all the challenges along the way. Yeah, hello and welcome back to a new episode of Cappuccino with HR. And today I'm really happy and proud and thrilled as well that I have Anna Bertoldini. I think Anna and me did already some sessions, some webinars. We met on a lot of conferences throughout a lot of places. And I think Anna has a kind of a small history with WeAreDevelopers as well. So probably we can talk about that as well. So really welcome, Anna. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. There's a lot of history with WeAreDevelopers.
We'll come to the point probably. And Anna, the first question is this called Cappuccino with HR. What is your favorite coffee?
So we're chatting about this offline, but I'm going to be probably a bad Italian and say that I really love Americano coffee, which is long, like filter coffee. I love sipping it. So usually have like an espresso and then add some hot water to it because I just really enjoy, taking my time with my coffee. I don't like the shot version, only after lunch.
Very cool. Yeah. And I mean, you have got a lot of followers and a lot of people know you out there, because I see that always when we meet on conferences, it's always, hi, Anna, hi, Anna, hi, Anna. But for those three out there that probably don't know you, could you please, may I ask you to briefly introduce yourself in a few sentences? That would be nice.
Yeah, of course. So, hi everyone who I haven't met yet. I'm Anna Bertoldini, and I'm the senior social media brand manager at Nielsen IQ. Previously, I worked 7+ years in employer brand, and I changed to brand marketing recently. And yeah, so that's my full-time job, is amplifying Nielsen IQ's global brand story with large-scale social media campaigns, employee advocacy, leadership advocacy, and integrated marketing campaigns. And then on the side, my little 5 to 9 is actually, I'm a personal branding expert. And what I love is to help people find their unique voice and scale it authentically, always using storytelling and genuine communications.
Thank you very much for that. Anna, today we are talking about a topic which is, I think everybody's talking about it at the moment, and I think it became really important. We are talking about personal branding. So as there's a lot of brandings, we were talking about employer branding and a lot of company branding and storytelling. How would you describe personal branding, probably in one or two sentences? What is the difference to employer branding? Is it the other side, or what is meant with personal branding, and why do you think it's important now?
Absolutely. So, like, just in a few sentences, to me, I define personal branding as intentionally building, right? So, creating that image for yourself, that reputation, and also influencing it actively. So, really taking the wheel on managing how people perceive you, right? Both in the workplace and outside. So that is personal branding to me. It's like the art of influencing your image and how people perceive you. Whereas, why is it important nowadays? Well, for many reasons. We are increasingly working remotely. So I think it's more important than ever to kind of grow your online presence and network and community, because we're not walking through offices anymore. So it's really hard to distinguish yourself nowadays and really be visible and get noticed. So in today's workplace, I think it's increasingly important to manage your brand and make sure you're visible, because that opens up opportunities for you. It's important for career development if you work for an organization, but it's also important if you are a business owner, because how do you distinguish yourself from the competition with your product or solution when no one knows you? So you want to make sure you're actively influencing your image, no matter what your goal is.
Do you think it's possible? I mean, as both employer branding, I mean, companies put a lot of effort into employer branding. They've put a lot of effort into getting this kind of narrative, getting the EVP right, getting this unique value proposition right, and Do you think you can take this knowledge to put it on a personal brand as well if you were working for a company? Or is it easier the other way around? Is it easier for employer branding managers to define the personal
Mhm.
branding?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things are related because an employer brand, I can like how I define company culture is like the mix and culmination of various employee experiences right within the
Mm,
company. And if people are open about that experience within their organization, externally, but also internally, um, and they're working on their personal brand by speaking about what they do and the company they work for, that really helps the employer brand as well. And as an employer branding manager, being a role model and really caring about your own brand and really talking about the work that you do and the great stuff that's happening within your company, inspire others to do so too, which helps your job because the more people speak well about your organization, the better it is for you and easier, right, to manage and attract the best talent. So I think those things are related. I don't think all employer brand leaders and managers have to have a strong personal brand, but it definitely benefits them both on a professional level, I mean, I'd say individual level, but also in their jobs. I think many times employee advocacy is underrated. The power of it is quite underrated. But really, when you see more and more people speak up and talk about their experience, the better the company is ultimately perceived on the outside. People
mm,
notice those things.
mhm. So that means that mathematically, does that mean that as the culture of a company is always the sum of the people working for the company, or it relates to it, does it mean that
Hmm.
all the personal brands put together, if you add them mathematically, that means that's the employer brand then at the end?
No, I think what I mean is culture, like company culture, which I think is at the heart of employer branding. Ultimately, what experience are you giving both candidates but also your internal employees? That to me is employer brand because employer brand, I think we think about it as an external thing, but it really starts from the inside, right? What are you providing for your employees? What type of culture? What kind of systems? What kind of processes? What kind of attitudes are you trying to foster within your company? I think that's employer branding. So to me, company culture is really hard to define, and so I define it as what people are saying, and what individual employees are saying about their experience in your company. It's like the mix, the total amount of experiences and the types of experiences that people have, and that's where you find those patterns that make up your employer value proposition. So that's what I think employer branding is and what a company culture is all about.
And if I now start as an employee, probably new in a company, start working on building my personal brand,
Hmm.
uh, how much is that influenced or impacted by the company's brand or by the employer brand out in the market? Or should I take care about it, or is it really related to myself?
Well, definitely the company's rather than employer brand culture will influence how you do personal branding if that's something you're interested in doing because
Mhm,
every company has a different social media policy, right? Some
mhm,
companies are still quite restrictive with what employees are allowed and not allowed to talk about on social media. So I think that will definitely influence the type of content that you can share and the type of experiences that you can really post about. So
mhm,
that can definitely influence your personal brand efforts. Otherwise, I think the employer brand, if you're really proud to work for your company, this is where the employer brand helps. You're more likely to speak openly about it, share team pictures, team buildings, the types of wins that you have, the achievements, right? If someone
mhm,
recognizes you, share that externally. And that's where employer brand can definitely influence personal branding efforts.
mhm.
But yeah, so that's where I could see those things really influencing each other. How the company sees personal branding on an individual level and how open they are to that. And then also the employer brand and how proud you are of speaking about your
Mhm.
company externally.
And how does personal branding tie into the employees advocacy programs? Because all the companies out there are talking about employee
Hmm.
advocacy programs. They're setting up these kind of programs for being seen as a thought leader on the market, spreading out the knowledge and getting a kind of a new image there. How does that fit together, or how can that cleverly be used?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a great question to me. Employee advocacy is really an effort on the company side to encourage and empower and train employees to better represent themselves and the company authentically. So an employee advocacy program is a program that's meant to educate, train, empower, right, employees to share more content about the company, whether that's like more HR, culture related, or even commercial related. So product solution content, right, to their networks. So personal branding and employee advocacy programs are closely tied because you're essentially educating your employees on how to grow their personal brands, and that benefits both the employee but also the company, because in the end, if more and more people speak about the company, that's a lot of organic marketing, a lot of organic reach for your company. And also it helps with the commercial side because more and more people see your content. It grows your thought leadership and market leadership and brand awareness and brand reputation. And it also helps with talent attraction, because then the more people speak about your company externally, the more prospects and potential candidates see that positive message that's constantly reinforced, and they'll have a much better view of your company and will want to join it.
Mm-hmm. I read a couple of weeks ago, I read a kind of a nice statement where a guy said, you anyhow have a personal brand from the moment on where you open your first social media profile. So you can
Yes.
intentionally shape it or not, but it's there. Mm-hmm. What's your take on this?
I completely agree. I think no matter if you think you don't have one or you do, you always have a personal brand. People will always have a perception, an opinion, an image of you. So you might as well influence it, because it makes more sense to, kind of influence the way that people talk about you when you're not in a room, as opposed to leaving that up to chance. So you do have a personal brand no matter what, no matter if you're working on it or not working on it.
Mm-hmm. And if I want to, I mean, there's people out there that probably are afraid of building up a kind of a personal brand because it sounds a little bit sophisticated. It sounds a little bit you need a lot of experience for doing it right.
Yeah.
What is the best way of starting and building it up without probably having a kind of a project plan?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's finding what you're really, really good at, and also aligning that with what the market needs. So and also your unique story and personality, right? Because there's your talent, which could be, let's say, talent acquisition. I'm really good at finding the best talent for my company. That's what the market needs, is someone who finds that talent. But also, what distinguishes you? What's your style? How do you approach candidates? What is your engagement strategy? What's your personality when doing so? And then you start sharing that knowledge and your experience with others. So once you figured out like what you do best, what the market needs, like what do they need, your talent, do they need your skills, and also who you are and your story, then you really want to start engaging with others. So I think the biggest hack to personal branding is actually not the posting part. So sharing content every day. I actually think it's more engaging intentionally and mindfully. So liking other people's stuff and commenting. And I don't mean like comments like well said or well done or congratulations. I mean like intentional, mindful comments where you're starting meaningful discussions. And people see that, because ultimately when you do comment on other people's content, that pops up in other people's feeds and other people can discover you. So you're kind of building a brand without directly exposing yourself yet, but still people still see that. And you can be in multiple places at once if you comment, rather than being in one only place, which is your own profile when you post. So I always think that engaging mindfully and kind of building that network in that way is a great place to start, to both kind of grow your confidence with posting, because posting can be really hard at the beginning. Like sharing a piece of content is quite tough when you maybe are not so used to sharing your opinions so publicly, right? But commenting is an easier, kind of like less scary way to start, and it still builds a great brand. So I would start with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, the toughest part for myself to find out was the self-reflection part. So it was really finding out where I'm really good in, and what is my strengths. That really took me years. It took me probably decades, just finding out what is really that makes me probably unique in a way. So
And
that
sure,
was
once
your,
you found that out, you spoke about it proudly, right? Like that was once you find that out and you have that clarity, it's so easy to then grow your
yeah, I
brand.
mean, I was really happy because honestly, I mean, I was asked several times, what are you good in? I mean, in every single interview, if you do a job interview, you get this kind of question, where are you really good in, and what is your biggest strengths, and what is probably your weaknesses? And
Mm-hmm.
I think you normally get kind of fluffy answers on that because nobody has really got an answer. And I was really happy to have when I found the answer for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably not something really special, but it was an answer for myself. And for me, this
Yeah.
was important, probably more important than for the people outside. But I got an
Mm-hmm.
answer on it. How did you start building up I mean, you have a really strong personal brand. I mean, yeah, it's like a trademark in the meantime. How
Mm.
did you personally start? What was your first steps, first 3, 4, 5 steps to build it up? Or was it accidentally, or was it really a planned process?
Yeah, great question. I think kind of like similar to you, a lot of people ask like what you're good at, and you're like, I don't know, I just do my job. And there's not an immediate answer to that question that really comes
Mm,
to mind, like I'm a great writer or I'm a great this or that. I think you sort of have to do that introspection, find out what you enjoy doing and what you're good at based on the feedback that you get. But to answer your question, so mine was kind of by chance. I started I think really intentionally building my brand when it was during the pandemic. So I was, like many other people, locked at home, and there's a lot of time for introspection. So I was, kind of working in my employer brand position at the time at Glovo, and I was learning a lot because I'd worked for a multinational employer branding before, and then I moved to a startup environment, and so it was a lot of new things like building stuff from scratch and systems and assets and everything. And I was learning so much that I thought, I wonder how many people are having my same sort of experience in a new job or in a new role or in employer brand, because it was quite new at the time when I started posting about employer branding. It was still, there are only a few people doing it. Right now it's a lot more, and it's become like a much more popular function, but at the time it wasn't. It was quite new. So yeah, I started just sharing what I knew and what I learned every day. And I started reading a lot of kind of like articles like about HR, about employee engagement and stuff. And I just kind of shared what I found out. So my journey, I was sharing it every step of the way. And I did that starting with commenting. So I remember I followed a bunch of people in HR and marketing, and I started kind of seeing the great content they were posting, kind of getting inspiration from them, commenting on their posts with like my own 2 cents about the topic. I followed other really cool creators also in other fields that I saw were really good at personal branding. I didn't know what personal branding was at the time. I just saw people posting great content that was interesting, and I loved the format, and I loved like what they were doing and how cool the copywriting was and how engaging it was. So I just started kind of testing it myself and writing every day and getting better at hooks and getting better at calls to action and stuff like that. And then I started learning a lot more about personal branding, and a little bit at a
mm,
time, I started getting little invitations here and there to like
mm,
podcasts and,
mm,
in-person events to speak about employer brand. And yeah, then I moved on to bigger stuff. So bigger conferences. I spoke internationally, like in Dubai, in Belgrade, in Serbia. I spoke in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Like I spoke all around. And
mm,
it all started with, you know, following really cool people, taking a lot of great inspiration, sharing my own content on what I was learning and what I knew, growing that thought leadership. And then
mm,
eventually I started taking in little opportunities, saying yes to little things, like the little
mm,
podcasts became bigger podcasts, which became bigger events. And
mm,
so
mm,
you kind of work your way up to where you are, but we all start from somewhere where we're posting content that gets
mm,
like one like,
mm.
and it's your mom. Like it happens, So yeah, I mean, I had
Yes.
so many, and I still get flops. I still post stuff that doesn't resonate with people, and you're just like, okay, that's cool. Like, and I leave it there. I don't delete things. Like I move on.
Mhm,
Like I learn from that. So
mhm,
so yeah, it was a process, and it started off randomly, and then became more intentional.
mhm. Uh, I mean, we were talking about different kind of channels, and we were talking about consistency. And
Yeah.
as I mean, I recognize that when or I still recognize it, if I watch how companies, and I'm taking it from the company side and the employer branding side,
Mm-hmm.
if they use different kind of social media channels,
Mm-hmm.
there's a big trap that I see really is a big trap that they try to over sound the tone of voice of this channel. So if companies
Mm-hmm.
present themselves, for example, just to give an example for the audience, on TikTok, they always try to be extremely funny and extremely young and extremely
Mm-hmm.
modern. If they do
Yeah.
it on LinkedIn, it probably tends to be a little bit boring.
Yeah.
How could you avoid this trap in personal branding? Because if I mean every of the social media channel has got this tone of voice in a way.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a great
how,
question.
how do you avoid to fall into that trap that
Mm-hmm.
it's unauthentically? Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, if you really follow this tone of voice too strict, it probably you run into the danger to being not authentic anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question because it really is about staying true to your brand and your personality. I mean, if you're really stale on one platform and then super unhinged on another, I think that doesn't fit with personal branding because people follow you for who you are and the way that you speak and your personality. If you start adapting that too much to the platform you're on, then you kind of lose that authenticity because then you're putting on like an online persona for every platform. And I think that shouldn't be the case. It should always be you and sound like you. You can adapt the content to the platform that you're on. Obviously, LinkedIn is more professional. So, all the value that you bring and all of the stories and all of the content should somehow add value to your audience from a like kind of inspirational point of view or professional point of view. Like, you can either build your brand and teach others, building that authority for yourself, or you can engage in storytelling, which is more personal, and that's totally fine. And actually, I do encourage it, but there always needs to be an element of tying it back to what you do and how this can help others. Whereas like a TikTok, I think you still should be yourself. Obviously, it's in more of in a video format, so you're kind of explaining more of the stuff that you do, but you're doing it on video. You can be fun, you can adapt a little bit, but you should always be yourself. So yeah, I think it's always about finding who you are and how do you speak to others and who your audience is, and then the medium can change, but it should always be you.
Is there one social media channel that you are not using yourself because you don't like it in from that point of view that we discussed previously?
One social media I never used, and not either personally or for my own brand, is X. So
Mm,
previously Twitter, now X. I just
mm,
never I just never was a big user of X.
mm,
Now less than before, but I used to
mm,
maybe check it sometimes, be more of a lurker for
mm,
like more breaking news, and now I don't even use it for that. So I think that's
mm,
like the one channel I never really got onto.
mm. For me, it was the same. I mean, it was for me, it was the period of having to have to be active was too short for me. So
Hmm.
it's too continuous, and it was for me. I think I never used it because of that reason that I said, okay, I was not really willing to spread out a message every 10 to 15 minutes or 20
Yeah,
a day or 30 a day. So that was also the reason why I never used it proactively. Um,
yeah.
mm, what who was your role model, or did you have a role model the other way around? Did you have a role model when you built up your personal brand? Was there somebody you were really watching and following and said, okay, I want to become like this? So was it a kind of an intuitive process, just letting it grow with the steps you already described?
Yeah, I think there's not one person that inspired me so much from a personal brand perspective. I think I had a lot of inspiration from different people because I followed different creators for their specific style. And so, like, some people I followed because they posted really great trends and news on brand marketing and brand strategy. So I wanted to sort of, grow my knowledge in that. I would follow these people for like the latest news and their take on it because they had a lot of experience in it. I followed other people because they had maybe a great copywriting style. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I love how this person posts. I love how they structure their content, and I want to learn from them because that's great copywriting. I had other people that I followed because I just liked them as people. And so I thought they had a really nice mix of content that was about what they did, which maybe wasn't completely what I was trying to get into, but maybe it was sort of related, but I love their storytelling. And I was like, oh my gosh, this person tells such nice stories. Like I want to also be like that. So I always followed people that inspired me for a specific thing, and also people that I wanted to learn from. So
Mhm.
that and that's who I engaged with the most too, because I wanted to be also in their inner circle. So a lot of creators, I ended up like, commenting a lot and being a lot more present on their feeds, to the point where we then like scheduled calls and became friends and had a lot of virtual coffees, virtual Americanos. So that really helped, just people for
Mhm.
different reasons. So there wasn't one person, multiple.
Mhm. And I mean, as we only evolve by getting feedback and collecting feedback and learning out of this, what's the best way from your point of view of gathering feedback in a world that is probably there's a lot of feedback because everybody's commenting everything. So this is a feedback in a way, but it's a lot of feedback. But at the end of the day, it could be probably nothing as well because everybody's commenting and feedbacking everything in a way. So how do you take out the essentials then? If you start and you want to evolve and to take it really serious and you want to build up your brand step by step, I mean, feedback I think is really important. Where could you go? What's the best way of collecting feedback to evolve?
Mm, I mean, like feedback on your style or your content, because there's
I
two
think
ways to
both.
do it.
I think both, because I think authenticity means that your style is coming closer and closer to yourself. And I mean,
Hmm.
on the postings, I mean that's the content which also is important. I mean, otherwise it's just empty style things. So it's nice, but no content. The other way around, it's content but no nice style. So I think both directions are important.
Yeah. I think that a great way to kind of develop more relevant and interesting content for your audience is actually to engage your audience, because you're not just speaking to them, it's supposed to be a two-way interaction. So I like to ask my audience what they want to see more of. So I have like polls, for example. I reintroduce myself every so forth, like every few months, I reintroduce myself for all the new people on my profile. And I say, hey, this is what I talk about. And a lot of times people comment with what they're interested in and what they want to hear more of. And so I think it's really about asking your audience what they like, what they want to see more of, what they want to learn from you. And then you sort of start developing more content around that. I think polls are a great way to do it. Otherwise, posting and asking is also another great way. Um, yeah, I think, and if you want feedback on your style, ask people who are really good at what you want to do better at. So ask other creators like that maybe you have a stronger relationship with, like, hey, like I want to get even better and I think you do what I want to do the best. So I want to be more like you. What type of feedback do you have for the type of content I have? And usually people have like good feedback if you ask the right ones. So that's how I would get feedback. Content is more your audience, because that's who you're serving ultimately with your content. And then other creators and peers in your field, you can always ask and get their feedback on the style and delivery.
Mhm. As we are coming close to the end, because I think these 30 minutes went so quickly now, we
They
could
did.
probably continue for 1.5 more hours. But i- is it a good guess that companies probably, and I'm switching to the company side once again, because I mean, as it offers a lot of benefits if you have employees with strong personal brands out on social media. Uh,
Mhm.
is it a good guess, or is Nielsen IQ, for example, are you offering a kind of personal branding trainings for your employees?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I manage our employee advocacy program, where we do
Mhm.
offer resources, materials, workshops, live ones, and also we have our recordings available. So
Mhm.
people, and also like an inbox so people can ask questions. And we have a
Mhm.
community too on Teams and Viva Engage, former Yammer,
Mhm.
for people to also ask questions, and where we share, regular content and tips on personal branding. So yes, we are definitely encouraging people to post more content. And we also have a tool for employee advocacy as well. It's limited seating for now, but that's also a place where people can access and find content related to the company, not just stuff that they see on our channels.
Mhm.
So whoever's interested in becoming an ambassador, we have an open community. And then we have a tool for employee advocacy that's more for commercials, because you may know this already, but HR, employer brand content generally is quite popular. So
Mhm.
we don't need as much love on our employer brand content because people love it. Whenever our audience sees a picture with a lot of humans in it and happy faces, it gets a lot of engagement. And of course, people really, really love that stuff, but commercial content less, right? So commercial content doesn't get as much love. And so that's where we need to focus a lot of our employee advocacy efforts. So the tool is actually in our case, more focused on commercial people and also influential voices. So employees who are quite active on social media, we gave them access to this tool. So they also have content from the company they can share that we've
Mhm.
posted as marketing teams, because our different teams develop the content, and as part of their activation on social media, they also post it to our tool so that
Mhm.
employees can share it too.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's how we give more exposure to our commercial thought leadership content, because the employer brand stuff, although we love it and obviously want more of it, it's already kind of popular.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
Okay, Anna, it was a pleasure having you in my Cappuccino with HR episode. I mean, it was really fun talking about this kind of really important topic, and I think it's really a topic where every single person can have a kind of a profit out of it. And for companies, I mean, it's also kind of the sum of all the individuals gives a kind of a lot of value for companies as well. So I think it's
Agreed.
a common effort, and driving that forward make definitely sense in times like this. If somebody wants to get in contact with you, what's the best social media channel to approach you? Is it LinkedIn, or where's it easiest to find Anna Bertoldini if somebody wants to get in
Definitely
contact?
LinkedIn. Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely LinkedIn. Yeah, I'd say
Okay.
that's the best place. So find me on LinkedIn, connect, let's stay in touch. Super happy to speak to anyone who would like to connect.
Really cool. And as we have our WeAreDevelopers World Congress with the HR Leader Summit in July, I mean, we have not spoken about that, but probably fits your calendar. It would be a pleasure to have you there, and that would be the possibility for the audience to see you live. So probably we can arrange that in the back office now later on to discuss about that. But
Oh, that would be
let's have a look on
amazing.
it. That would be amazing to see you there as well. For the audience out there, stay tuned. Thank you for listening to it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed it. And see you next time. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much. Bye.
Thank you for watching Cappuccino with HR. If you enjoy this kind of conversations, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Then you get all this kind of upfront information, your upcoming episodes, and all my nice guests. Cappuccino with HR is brought to you by WeAreDevelopers, Europe's #1 developer community and a leading platform for connecting HR and companies together with developers. If you want to learn more, visit us on WeAreDevelopers.com. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time on Cappuccino with HR.